Well, we're looking at session number 7 in Nahum, chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, title, Woe to Nineveh. We've only got about 2 more sessions and we'll wrap up Nahum. We'll talk about that when we get to that point. Today we're going to begin chapter 3, as I just mentioned. And it's the wind-up to Nahum's short prophecy on the demise of Nineveh and Assyria. Here, Nahum will paint a picture of why Nineveh's destiny was deserved, reasons for the justice of her judgment. Nineveh's violence and deceit will turn to defeat and shame. Nahum 3, verse 1. Woe to the bloody city. Remember, Assyria was violent, cruel, evil. Woe to the bloody city, completely full of lies and pillage. Her prey never departs. Charge number 1, Assyrian culture was unusually cruel, bloodthirsty, using falsehood and treachery to accomplish its goals. If we look at 2 Kings 18, verses 28 through 32, we see something about that. Then Rabshakeh, it's an Assyrian officer, stood, and he was standing outside the walls of Jerusalem, and cried with a loud voice in Judea, speaking the language of the Judeans, saying, Hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah, that's your king, do not let Hezekiah deceive you. He will not be able to deliver you from my hand. This is again the king of Assyria speaking. Nor let Hezekiah make you trust in Yahweh, saying, Yahweh will surely deliver us. He said, don't bother going to that. Yahweh will surely deliver us, and this city, as Jerusalem, shall not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. So this Assyrian officer standing out there saying, don't let Hezekiah tell you this bunch of bull. Verse 31, do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of Assyria, make your peace with me, and come out to me, and eat each of his vine. Yeah, right, they're going to leave all the Judeans in place. And each of his fig tree, and drink each of the waters of his own cistern. He said, I'll leave you alone. Just come on out. We'll make peace. Verse 32, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vinegars, a land of olive trees and honey, that you may live and not die. But do not listen to Hezekiah when he misleads you, saying, Yahweh will deliver. So what's this guy saying about his king? He said, my king has said, you give up and come out. I'll settle you somewhere where it's peaceful, productive. Otherwise, I'm going to have to kill you. That's fundamentally the message or the implication. The city, Nineveh, was full of lies, full of deceit, full of treachery. It was full of plunder taken in war. It was full of prey, victims of those defeated, and it was full of itself. I think the king made that very clear. He was full of himself and his power. Compare that with Nahum earlier, where he had said the end would look like by what it would look like by comparison. Back in chapter 2, verses 3, 4, and 5, Nahum wrote this: "The shields of his mighty men are colored red. The warriors are dressed in scarlet. The chariots are enveloped in flashing steel when he is prepared to march, and the cypress spears are brandished. The chariots race madly in the streets. They rush wildly in the squares. Their appearance is like torches. They dash to and fro like lightning flashes. He remembers his nobles. They hurry to her wall, and the mantlet is set up." He's saying here that you guys inside the city of Nineveh, you're going to go crazy. You're going to go mad. You're going to stumble all over the place. You're going to try and get ready to prepare. It just ain't going to work. Catastrophe will replace wealth and smugness, both of which were characteristic of Nineveh. How things are going to change, and how things will change rapidly. Nahum 3:2. The noise of the whip, the noise of the rattling of the wheel, galloping horses and bounding chariots. He said, you're suddenly going to hear all of these things from the Medes, the Babylonians. Seems like there's another group in there, Scythians. A cracking of the whip, the rumbling of chariots, wheels as the chariots run through the city, and the horses of the cavalry advance enemy troops without opposition. Noise, death, chaos as Nineveh is overrun. Let's go to verse 3 of chapter 3. Horsemen charging, swords flashing, spears gleaming, many slain, a mass of corpses, talking about inside of Nineveh, and countless dead bodies. They stumble over the dead bodies. And I assume that those who are stumbling over the dead bodies are both those trying to defend the city or escape by fleeing, as well as the soldiers from the opposing troops. Untold numbers of dead Ninevites are piled up, causing defenders and enemy attackers alike to stumble over their corpses. There's no end to the killing, no end to the dead. The advancing army has met virtually no resistance in their mission of death and defeat. The defenders are annihilated. Then the reasons for all of it are given in charge number 2 in Nahum 3:4. Here he says, now here's the reason. All because of the many harlotries of the harlot, the charming one, the mistress of sorceries, who sells nations by her harlotries and families by her sorceries. So this is a combination of spiritual sorcery, all kinds of idol worship, all kinds of evil deeds. Full of the evils of sorcery was the magnificent Assyria. It was full of magic, witchcraft, and false gods. The metaphor is, of course, of Assyria's achieving power, wealth, and influence and dominion by way of efforts of wooing and seducing like a harlot. She used charm, lies, deceit, and so on. Beauty and grace were her selling points, charms to draw the unsuspecting, followed by seduction and betrayal. That was the nation of Assyria. That was the city of Nineveh. But Yahweh now declares that her whoredom will be publicly exposed to the world. This is something we see a lot of different places in Scripture. Nahum 3:5. Behold, that's Yahweh, I am against you, declares Yahweh of hosts, and I will lift up your skirts over your face. You can imagine the image that creates. And show to the nations your nakedness. In other words, he said, I'm going to do everything in my power, and that's enough, to show your nakedness, who you really are, to your shame. And to the kingdoms, I'm going to show them your grace. Here, Yahweh makes a clear statement of his intent. Assyria and Nineveh will be exposed to the maximum shame possible. All will be made known, and then they will be wiped off the face of the earth. The image is graphic. Shameless behavior will be entirely exposed. Like Micah, Nahum hints earlier at what he now openly discusses. We can go all the way back, chapter 2, verse 13. Behold, I, Yahweh, am against you, declares the Lord of hosts. I will burn up her chariots in smoke. By the way, you say, you can't burn a steel chariot. Well, the chariots of the Assyrians were made of wood, so that they were lighter weight and more maneuverable. A sword will devour your young lions. Your troops, they're not going to stand up to this attack. I will cut off your prey from the land. You will no longer have prey. You will be stopped in your tracks, and no longer will the voice of your messengers be heard. What you're trying to sell, nobody's going to hear again. You won't be around to do it. Other prophets have used similar pictures. Look at Ezekiel 16:37. This is an interesting one. I, therefore, behold, I, Yahweh, shall gather all your lovers with whom you took pleasure, even all those whom you loved, and all those whom you hated. So I shall gather them against you from every direction, and expose your nakedness to them, that they may see all your nakedness. You got any idea who Ezekiel's talking to or talking about? Jerusalem. He's saying God will do the same to an unfaithful among his people. He will do the same shame disclosing and shame producing that he does for his opposition. Now let's go to Isaiah 47 and look at the first 3 verses, if my throat holds up anyhow. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. So we've gone from Nineveh to Jerusalem, now to Babylon. Sit on the ground without a throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no longer be called tender and delicate. You're not going to have the wherewithal to be the whore that you have been. Take the millstones and grind meal. Remove your veil. Strip off your skirt. Uncover your legs. Cross the rivers. Your nakedness will be uncovered. Your shame also will be exposed. I will take vengeance and will not spare a man. So when you're opposing God, your shame will be exposed. You find that not only in Babylon, not only in Nineveh, not only even among his own people in Jerusalem. You find that in other places in Scripture as well. God does not favor anyone. Judgment begins in the house of the Lord. Now for the final blow of degradation. Nahum 3:6. I will throw filth on you and make you vile and set you up as a spectacle. Filth is the word for human excrement. That can't be good, can it? He said, I'm going to throw human filth on you, human excrement on you, going to make you vile. Nobody wants a part of you. You're going to be a spectacle to be seen. That one would do such a thing certainly shows contempt at the max and makes the recipient a spectacle for shaking heads and wagging tongues. You just can't believe what you're seeing being done. And then we have a wrap-up statement in verse 7 of Nahum 3. And it will come about that all who see you, Nineveh, will shrink from you and say, Nineveh is devastated. Who will grieve for her? Where will I seek comforters from you? How bad will it be? Bad enough that no one outside of Nineveh will care. They won't give a hoot that this has happened to her. No one will mourn for Nineveh. No one will comfort Nineveh. But all the world outside of Nineveh and Assyria will be dancing, singing, and rejoicing. Nineveh, bear your pain alone. Meaningless question. How do you think Jonah would have reacted to this judgment? Yeah, well, you might think about that. It's a meaningless question because Jonah was 100 years earlier. He's not around anymore, I'm sure. I don't know that for a fact, but I would assure it. But you know that Jonah was ticked when God did not judge them because they repented and did as he said to avoid judgment. Well, now, 100 years later, his judgment, Nineveh's judgment, has come. So what's next? Well, we still have some more of chapter 3 to go. 2 more sessions, really. So we'll look for you then, see what further is described as Nineveh's end, and a little bit more about how it is used to describe other nations in